Welcome. We're going to review the great triangle splatting paper. That's a really nice paper with authors from the 3D convex splatting paper. And basically, that's a paper that bridged the gap between Gaussian splatting and traditional graphics, where triangles have been used for decades. This paper produced what they call a triangle soup. So basically, it's just a set of individual triangles, similar to individual Gaussians. And basically, yeah, that's not desired because in a graphics pipeline, you are used to work with connected triangles with mesh. So that's just one paper. It's really early. Well, it's really recent. But since then, they've already the same authors have already published 2 follow-up papers that generates connected mesh. Okay. So let's review this paper. We're going to implement it in later videos. So I would advise you to subscribe if it's not already done. And then we are also going to review the follow-up papers. So one is called Triangle Splatting Plus. On the other one, I think it's called Mesh Splat. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's called Mesh Splat, and it was released only a few days ago. So basically, what they do first, they modify the representation. Instead of working with Gaussians, they work with triangles. So basically, on one side, let's have a look at the representation. So as a reminder, with Gaussian splatting, each Gaussian stores 59 parameters. We have 48 parameters to model the color direction-dependent color. So basically, these are spherical harmonics coefficients that model a function that can receive as input a view direction and output a color. So that's for Gaussian splatting. For Gaussian splatting, we also have an opacity parameter, so a per Gaussian opacity parameter. And then, of course, we have the 3D Gaussian means and the 3D Gaussian covariance. Here, instead of having the mean of the Gaussian, because these are triangles, we have the position for each vertices. So we have 3 XYZ coordinate for each for each vertex. So as to have 9 parameters. And then there is a smoothness parameter, sigma. So basically, yeah, we are going to discuss that in a moment. But basically, if you do the maths, you still have 59 parameters. So that's a very different way to do the representation, but the number of parameters is the same, and therefore the storage per triangle is the same as the storage required per Gaussian. We need 59 parameters. So basically, that's one side of the contribution. They introduce this different representation, this new representation. But when you introduce new representation, you need to make sure that it can be trained, that everything is differentiable, that it's fast. And basically, a second contribution of theirs is this window function. So basically, the issue with triangles is that they are, you have discontinuities, and that's why, you need to ensure smooth gradients. If you have big discontinuities in the gradients, like we can see here, for example, with this, I believe with this orange and green functions, you can see that we have big discontinuities, and that's why it has been really difficult for the last decades to optimize mesh, to optimize triangles. But in this paper, they define this window function that will basically give the opacity, given a position, on given a triangle, it will give you the opacity based on the location. So basically, there is a smooth function that will give you this, the opacity of the triangle. In Gaussian splatting, there is also the same mechanism, which is based on the Gaussian PDF. So the closer you are to the mean of the Gaussian, the higher the density. Well, the higher the opacity. And when you go further away from the mean, the opacity is decays. On here, they implement this mechanism. They implement this new window function on that ensures to have smooth gradient, and that allows optimization. If we look at a few figures from the paper, so basically, because these are triangles, even though they are not connected, what you can do after training the triangles, you can just export that into a mesh, unload them into traditional game engine. So basically, you don't even need yourself to implement a fast rendering. You can just plug the learned representation into Unity, into Blender, into Unreal Engine, and you get those scenes with high FPS. If you are careful, or maybe those frames are a bit cherry-picked, but for example, if you look at the website, they have more images. It's not perfect. There is a loss in quality. Because doing rendering, and because of this, maybe it's related to this window function. The triangles are not fully opaque. They are, let's say, semi-transparent. But here, when you export them into a game engine, you assume that they are fully opaque, and that's why you have lost in quality. But with the follow-up paper, they solve this issue. So yeah, even though those frames look great, if you look at the website, when you import the files into a game engine, it's not perfect. Or I would say it's even a bit bad. But with the follow-up paper, they solve that issue. Okay, here we have a few examples. Yeah, in Gaussian splatting, what is really important is the densification and the pruning. We are going to discuss that in follow-up videos, and we are going to implement that from scratch. So I would recommend you to subscribe if it's not already done. Here you can see that there are some artifacts when a triangle is only seen by a few views. So basically, sometimes some views create some triangles. Those triangles are overfit to this training view. So basically, here they have a pruning mechanism where they remove triangles that are seen than fewer than 2 views. And that allows to go from left to right, so to remove those artifacts. Okay, let's move on. In terms of results, they have really good results, comparable or even better than the state of the art. But again, besides that it's really great, that it's a really nice representation, that it trains fast, that it beats the state of the art in terms of quality. What's really important about that paper, it's really bridging the gap between traditional graphics and Gaussian splatting. Yeah, on with a few more papers down the line, we will be able to get a mesh with hopefully the properties that are commonly used, for example, the albedo, the roughness, the metalness. So yeah, it's really a major paper that will bridge the gap between graphics and let's say machine learning on Gaussian splatting. Okay, here that's a scene that's usually difficult to run with Gaussian splatting, or with the vanilla Gaussian splatting, and therefore they need to add some extra component from other paper, for example, ABS Gaussian splatting, that I'm also going to present in the follow-up video. Basically, the issue is that with very high frequencies, the densification strategy in Gaussian splatting does not allocate enough Gaussians in those high frequency regions. But here we can see that this paper does that properly, and we don't need to add any extra mechanism to what they've developed. Okay, here some results, we can skip that. In terms of loss, they're a bit more complex than the Gaussian splatting training. Gaussian splatting is just a combination with L1 loss on SSIM loss. Here they have 4 extra terms. There is an opacity term, normal term, so they regularize the normal. I'm not sure what LS on LD is, I need to double check. Yeah, LD is a distortion loss. On LS is, it's to encourage larger triangles, okay? So they had the regularization based on the size of the triangles, where V0, V1, and V2 are the vertices. Okay, so that's it for a rough overview of this paper. I would really encourage you to have a deeper read into it. And in one of my next video, we're going to implement it from scratch using PyTorch only. So no CUDA, no C++. So of course it's slower when you implement it in PyTorch. But here, because the end goal at the end is just to extract the triangles or the mesh and to feed that into a game engine, we don't care that our splatting is slower than in CUDA or C++.